They disowned me 15 years ago for marrying a poor man. Cut me off completely. No holidays, no weddings, no graduations. Told me I was dead to them. Fast forward to last month, my entitled son and his wife walked into my 5-star restaurant, screaming at my staff, demanding VIP treatment, asking, "Do you know who we are?" My manager called me. I walked out in my designer suit, and when they saw me, the grandmother they abandoned standing there as the owner of a 12-restaurant empire worth $40 million. The look on their faces was priceless. I had them escorted out by security in front of a packed dining room, and his boss sitting 3 tables away, watching the whole thing. He fired my son the next morning. Hey everyone, it's Grandma, and this story is going to make you furious before it makes you want to stand up and cheer. We're talking about family abandonment, classism, 15 years of being treated like trash, and revenge so public and so devastating it destroyed careers and reputations in one night. Before we get into this absolute demolition of entitled family members, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I'm serving up justice stories every single day. And when we're done, I want you to comment the word empire if you think they got exactly what they deserved. Alright, let's talk about Margaret, the family that threw her away, and the empire she built from nothing. This story is about a woman named Margaret, now 68 years old. But we need to go back 15 years to understand how we got here. Back then, Margaret was 53, recently widowed from her first husband, a wealthy businessman her family had approved of. She'd lived the life they expected: country club, charity galas, the right social circles. Then she met David at a grief support group. David had lost his wife to cancer. He was 55, worked as a high school teacher, made $45,000 a year. He was kind, patient, made Margaret laugh for the first time since her husband died. They fell in love. Margaret's family was horrified. Her son Richard, 30 years old at the time, already a corporate lawyer making 6 figures, sat her down and said, "Mom, you can't be serious. A high school teacher. What will people think?" Margaret's daughter-in-law Susan was worse. She actually said, "We didn't work this hard to climb the social ladder just to have you drag us back down by marrying some poor teacher." Margaret tried to explain, "I love him. He makes me happy. After everything I've been through, don't I deserve to be happy?" Her son looked at her like she was a stranger. "If you marry him, you're not part of this family anymore. We have a reputation to protect. You'll embarrass us." Margaret thought he was bluffing. Thought her own son wouldn't actually abandon her over who she loved. She was wrong. She married David in a small ceremony. 20 guests. None of them were her family. Richard didn't come. Susan didn't come. Margaret's 2 grandchildren, 8 and 6 at the time, weren't allowed to come. Her brother didn't come. Her sister didn't come. They all chose Richard's side. Chose wealth and status over family. And that was it. 15 years of silence. No Christmas invitations. No Thanksgiving. When Richard made partner at his law firm, no invitation to the celebration. When Susan got promoted, no call to share the news. When the grandchildren graduated high school, then college, Margaret found out on Facebook she wasn't invited to any of it. David saw how much it hurt her. Held her on the night she cried about missing her grandchildren. "Maybe we should reach out," he'd say. "Try one more time." But Margaret had tried. She'd sent birthday cards to the grandchildren, returned unopened. She'd called Richard, he blocked her number. She'd shown up at Susan's work once to try to talk security. Escorted her out because Susan had told them she was being harassed by a former family member. So Margaret stopped trying. And she built a life with David, a good life. He taught English at the local high school. She started working again, something she'd never done during her first marriage. Got a job as a hostess at a small restaurant because she needed something to do, needed to feel useful. The restaurant owner, an elderly Italian man named Marco, saw something in Margaret. She was good with people, organized, had an eye for detail. Within 6 months, he promoted her to manager. Within a year, she was practically running the place. Marco had no children, no one to leave the restaurant to. When he decided to retire, he offered to sell it to Margaret. "You have the passion for this," he told her. "I'll give you a good price. You can make payments." Margaret and David scraped together every penny they had, took out loans, bought the restaurant, and Margaret poured everything into making it successful. She changed the menu, upgraded the decor, focused on service. Within 2 years, the restaurant was thriving. Then Margaret opened a second location, then a third. She had a gift for this, understanding what people wanted, creating experiences, building teams. David supported her completely, worked his teaching job during the day, helped at the restaurants at night, did the books, managed inventory. They were a team. 10 years after buying that first restaurant, Margaret owned 8 locations, upscale establishments, the kind of places that got written up in food magazines, where you needed reservations weeks in advance, where celebrities and business executives dined. Margaret had become wealthy, not just comfortable, wealthy. Her restaurants were pulling in 15-1 a year in revenue. She drove a Mercedes, wore designer clothes, lived in a beautiful home. Everything her first family had valued, she'd achieved without them. But David never got to see the full success. He died 5 years ago. Heart attack, sudden. Margaret was devastated, lost the love of her life, the man who'd stood by her when everyone else walked away, the man who'd believed in her restaurant dreams when she was just a hostess. She thought about giving up, selling everything. What was the point without David? But then she remembered what he used to tell her: the best revenge is living well. Show them what they missed. So Margaret kept going, opened for more restaurants. Now she had 12 locations across 3 cities. She'd become a restaurant mogul, worth $40 million, featured in business magazines, asked to speak at entrepreneurship conferences. And through it all, 15 years, her family never reached out, never apologized, never acknowledged they'd been wrong. Margaret would sometimes look at Richard's social media, see photos of her grandchildren, now adults, 23 and 21, see Richard and Susan at charity events, pretending to be pillars of the community. They had no idea what she'd become. Last month, everything changed. It was a Friday night. Margaret's flagship restaurant, the crown jewel of her empire, 5 stars, reservation list booked solid for 2 months. The kind of place where entrees start at $60 and the wine list has bottles worth thousands. Margaret was in her office upstairs. She still came in several nights a week, loved being part of the operation. Her manager Carlos called. "Ms. Margaret, I'm so sorry to bother you, but we have a situation. There's a couple at table 12 causing a scene. They're demanding to speak to the owner." Margaret sighed. Difficult customers happened. Usually Carlos handled it, but if they were asking for the owner, she'd deal with it. "I'll be right down." She checked her appearance in the mirror. Designer suit Armani, $1,500. Hair, perfectly styled. Diamond earrings David had given her for their 5th anniversary. She looked successful, powerful, nothing like the broken woman her family had discarded. Margaret walked onto the dining room floor. The restaurant was packed, 80 guests, all dressed beautifully, the atmosphere elegant and sophisticated. She scanned the room for table 12 and froze. Richard, her son, sitting there with Susan, his wife, both of them red-faced, gesturing angrily at the server. Margaret hadn't seen them in person in 15 years. Richard was 45 now, graying at the temples. Susan looked older, harder. Margaret's heart was pounding. They were here, in her restaurant, and they had no idea. She walked over calmly. "Good evening. I'm the owner. I understand there's a problem." Richard looked up at her, and for a split second, Margaret saw recognition flicker across his face. Then confusion. Then denial. Like his brain couldn't process that his mother, the one he'd disowned for being too poor, was standing in front of him in a designer suit, claiming to own this 5-star restaurant. "Mom," he said, his voice uncertain. "Margaret," she corrected coldly. "You made it very clear 15 years ago that I'm not your mother anymore. Now, what seems to be the issue?" Susan's mouth was hanging open. "Wait, you work here. Are you the manager or something?" Margaret smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. "I own it. This restaurant and 11 others. Now, my staff tells me you've been causing a disturbance. Would you like to explain why? You're harassing my employees." Richard had gone pale. You own this place. I built a 12-restaurant empire, Richard. After you disowned me for marrying a poor man, turns out that poor man believed in me more than you ever did. Now, answer my question. Why are you screaming at my staff?" Susan found her voice. "We've been waiting for our food for 40 minutes. This is unacceptable. Do you know who we are?" Margaret laughed. Actually laughed. "Do I know who you are, Susan? I changed your husband's diapers. I know exactly who you are. You're entitled people who think the world owes them something. And you're currently disturbing my other guests." The nearby tables were watching now, people turning in their seats, trying to see what was happening. Margaret didn't care. Let them watch. Richard tried a different approach. "Mom, Margaret, we didn't know you'd be here. We should talk. Privately. Catch up. Catch up." Margaret's voice was ice. "You disowned me 15 years ago. Told me I was dead to you. Because I married a high school teacher. You blocked my calls, returned my letters, kept me from my grandchildren. And now you want to catch up." "We were wrong," Richard said, but his eyes were darting around the room, aware of the audience. "We made a mistake. We'd like to reconcile. Now that you know I'm wealthy," Margaret said. "That's what this is about. You saw my empire and suddenly I'm worth knowing again." Susan jumped in. "That's not fair. We've been trying to find you for years." Margaret pulled out her phone. "That's interesting, because I've had the same number for 15 years and you've blocked it. Would you like me to try calling you right now, in front of everyone?" Susan went quiet. Margaret continued. "Your food is taking 40 minutes because you showed up without a reservation at one of the most sought-after restaurants in the city and demanded a table. My hostess found you a spot because we had a last-minute cancellation. The kitchen is preparing your order exactly as it prepares every other guest's order, but you couldn't wait patiently. You had to berate a 22-year-old server who's working her way through college." She turned to the server, a young woman named Emma who'd been on the verge of tears. You did nothing wrong. Please go take your break. I'll handle this." Then Margaret looked back at Richard and Susan. "You asked if I know who you are. I do. You're the people who valued money and status over family, who threw me away like trash, who kept my grandchildren from me for 15 years. And now you walk into my restaurant that I built from nothing, and you expect what? VIP treatment? Forgiveness?" Richard's face was red. "You can't do this. We're your family." "You're not my family," Margaret said, her voice carrying across the now silent dining room. "You made that very clear. Family doesn't abandon each other. Family doesn't choose social status over love. You are customers who have been rude to my staff, and I don't serve people who treat my employees badly." She gestured to Carlos. "Please escort these two out. They're banned from this location and all, minus one of my other restaurants, permanently." Susan stood up, knocking her chair back. "You can't do this. We have rights. We'll sue." "Sue me," Margaret said calmly. "I have excellent lawyers. Much better than you can afford, Richard. Because unlike you, I don't just work at a law firm. I employ several of them." Two security guards appeared, large men in suits. They stood on either side of Richard and Susan's table. "You're making a scene," Richard hissed. "Do you know who's here? My boss is 3 tables away. You're going to embarrass me." Margaret looked over. 3 tables away, a distinguished man in his 60s was watching with keen interest. She recognized him from photos, senior partner at Richard's firm. "Your boss," Margaret said. "Good, let him see who you really are. Let him see how you treat service workers, how you abandoned your own mother, how you only wanted to reconnect when you found out she was wealthy." She raised her voice slightly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disturbance. These 2 individuals are being removed for harassing my staff. Your meals tonight are on the house as an apology for the disruption." The restaurant erupted in applause. Actual applause. 80 people clapping as security escorted Richard and Susan out. Susan was crying. Richard was trying to maintain dignity but failing, his face beet red. As they passed his boss's table, the older man said quietly, "Richard, I'll see you in my office Monday morning." Richard's face went white. He knew he was fired. They were gone. Margaret stood in her dining room, 80 guests looking at her with respect and sympathy. She took a breath, smiled at her staff. "Back to work, everyone. We have guests to serve." The applause came again. People standing, raising their glasses. Someone shouted to Margaret. Others joined in. To Margaret. That night, the story spread. Social media, review sites, local news picked it up. Restaurant owner bans family who disowned her. 15 years ago, the video footage from the security cameras Margaret had reviewed it later showed everything. Richard and Susan's entitled behavior. Margaret's calm, dignified response. The escort out. Richard's boss called him Sunday night, fired him over the phone. "We can't have someone representing our firm who treats service workers that way, or who abandons his own mother for marrying someone he deemed beneath him. Clean out your desk Monday." Richard tried to find another position, but the story followed him. "Aren't you the lawyer who got banned from those restaurants? Who disowned his mother?" Interviews ended quickly. Susan lost her position on the board of a non-profit. They said her values don't align with our mission of supporting families. The grandchildren, Margaret's actual grandchildren, now 23 and 21, reached out. They'd seen the news. "Grandma, we didn't know. Dad never told us what really happened," he said. "You chose your new husband over us. We're so sorry." Margaret met with them, learned they'd been lied to their entire lives, told that Margaret had abandoned them, not the other way around. They were horrified when they learned the truth. "He kept you from us," the older one said, crying. "All these years, you were trying to reach us and he blocked it." Margaret forgave them. They were children when it happened, victims of Richard's lies, just like she was. But Richard and Susan? No forgiveness. They'd made their choice, lived with it for 15 years, only wanted her back when they thought she was wealthy enough to be worth knowing. Margaret banned them from all 12 restaurants, put their photos in the back of every location with a note, "Do not serve, permanently banned." Richard sent emails, begging, explaining, apologizing. Margaret deleted them all. Susan tried. showing up at one of the other restaurants. Security recognized her from the photo, escorted her out, before she even got to the hostess stand. 6 months later, Margaret sold her flagship restaurant, the one where the confrontation happened, for $8 million. Not because she needed the money, because she wanted to buy a restaurant in the city where David's family lived, open a place to honor his memory. She named it David's, decorated it with photos of him, put a plaque by the entrance in memory of David Chen, who believed in me when no one else did. The grand opening made the news. Margaret, in a stunning gown, cutting the ribbon, being interviewed about her late husband. He was a high school teacher, made $45,000 a year. My family disowned me for marrying him, but he gave me love, support, and belief in myself. This restaurant empire, I built it with him, for him. He deserved so much more than 15 years, but I'll honor him for the rest of my life. Richard saw the interview, called Margaret's number still blocked, sent a letter. She threw it away, unopened. 5 years later, Margaret is 73, worth $50 million, owns 16 restaurants now. Her grandchildren work for her. The older one manages 2 locations. The younger one is in culinary school, training to be a chef. Richard is 50, working a mid-level legal position at a small firm. Never recovered his reputation, still blocked from Margaret's restaurants. Sees his children regularly, they make him, but the relationship is strained. They know what he did. Susan divorced him 3 years ago, took half of what little he had left, moved to another state. And Margaret, she's living the life David always said she deserved. Successful, respected, surrounded by people who love her for who she is, not what she has. The final scene is Margaret at David's restaurant, the one she built in his honor. She's there for Sunday dinner, sitting with her grandchildren and their partners. They're laughing, sharing a meal, being family. One of the servers comes over. "Ms. Margaret, there's someone at the door asking to speak with you. Says he's your son." Margaret doesn't even look up. "Tell him we're full, and that he's banned." Same as always. The server nods and leaves. Margaret goes back to her dinner, back to the family she's built, the one that chose her not because of money, but because of love. And that is what happens when you disown someone for marrying poor and then come crawling back when they're rich. Richard thought Margaret needed him, needed his approval, needed to be part of his wealthy family. He forgot that Margaret was already wealthy where it mattered, in strength, in resilience, in the ability to build something from nothing. You know what Grandma always says, the family you're born into might abandon you, but the family you build through love, through choice, that's the one that matters. Margaret built an empire. Richard lost everything, and she did it all without him. If this story made you want to applaud Margaret for standing her ground, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and comment the word empire if you think Richard and Susan got exactly what they deserved. Let's honor everyone who's been disowned by family and came back stronger. This is Grandma, reminding you that success is the best revenge, and empire building is the best response to abandonment. Peace, everyone.